Hey guys, it's the Horse PT. Today I thought we'd talk a little bit about recognizing hind limb lamenesses. If you've watched my video on forelimb lameness, then you already know how important I think it is for horse owners to be able to recognize lameness. Horses are naturally very stoic animals, so we really have to tune our eyes to subtle changes. But even if you can't pinpoint exactly where a lameness is coming from yet, just noticing that something is off is a really great first step. By now you've watched this guy walk by a few times, so I'll go ahead and give away that it's his right hind that is lame. Now, how do I know that? The first thing that I notice is that his left leg seems to be striding a little shorter than his right leg. And by that I mean as he steps forward with his left, the triangle that's formed between left and right looks to be a little smaller than when he steps forward with his right leg. That makes a lot of people automatically assume that it's the left leg that's lame, and that's really not a bad guess. But here's the distinction. First, we'll watch how he's tracking up, and it looks to me to be about the same on each leg. Then we're going to look how far he's letting the limb retract or move out behind his body as he walks forward. He seems to me to be picking up that right hind leg a little before it's fully retracted, whereas the left one is going through a normal stride. So that's a really subtle difference, but here I have a couple of pictures with angles overlaid that should help clear that up a little bit. So here we have right leg coming forward. That's an angle of 49 degrees. So really we're looking at how long he's letting that left leg stay on the ground, more so than how far the right leg's coming forward. And then with this next one, we'll see the left leg is forward, right leg is behind, and we have an angle of only 42 degrees. So just to recap, because that's a little confusing, here we have him again. So he's lame on the right hind. It's painful while he's weight bearing on that right hind leg. So he is going to leave it on the ground for a shorter amount of time than his left leg, which means that triangle between his left and right legs will look smaller when the left leg is forward. Another little trick, if you're just not sure, is to ask the horse to trot. This horse was much more obviously lame on the right hind at a trot. That's how I figured it out. So when in doubt, ask him to move a little faster and you can usually figure it out. Next up, we have kind of the opposite situation. So this horse is lame on the left hind, and he is lame more so on the swinging through phase of stride. So he's tracking pretty much all the way up with his right hind, but the left one is not quite swinging through as far. So you'll see that triangle formed between left and right looks smaller when the left is coming forward, just like it did with our other guy. But it's because he's not swinging the left leg as far through, whereas our previous horse, the triangle looked smaller because he wasn't leaving the leg on the ground as long into the retraction phase of stride. It's a little tricky to see sometimes on video, so I have still photos to kind of make this a little more clear. So this is right leg coming forward. You can see it's pretty much being placed right in the footprint of that front right leg. And then this next picture, left leg coming forward, we've got a pretty good gap between front and hind leg there. So just to recap this one, we're just the opposite of the first video I showed you. Left hind is lame. It's not swinging through as far as the right hind, and that's how we can tell that it's left hind that's lame. We also know it's left hind because I have x-rays for this horse. So here we have the x-ray. It's of the left stifle, and you can see some nice little bone chips in there. The video of the horse is actually after his surgery, but we know that it's that left stifle causing his lameness. Okay, so this next example serves two purposes. It's first of all to show you guys that another way we can look for a hind limb lameness is with the hip drop. So with this first pass, he wouldn't have much of a hip drop. Now you see with a rider, we have a hip drop on the left. So we'll watch again. He goes without a rider. Looks pretty symmetrical. And then on this next pass, we have a rider, and now that left hip is dropping further than the right. So that left hip having more vertical displacement than the right is a sign that it's something in that left limb causing the lameness. And then my second point is that we have a horse here who is sound without a rider, and then showing signs of subtle lameness with a rider. That happens a lot. A lot of times these horses, it's not a real obvious lameness, so they're sound, they seem sound, you lunge them, they seem sound. It's always worth checking with a rider because that can show you some things that are hidden otherwise. Okay, this last example is kind of just for fun. This horse kind of looks awkward. He's going around. He looks a little off. You're not sure why. I looked at this video. I really wasn't sure why. And what it turns out is this horse was really sore on both of his hind feet. So this owner added some protection for his feet in the form of shoes, and he was able to move soundly pretty much immediately. Now, if you know me, you know my opinion on if a horse is only sound in shoes, and we're not really sound. But that being said, that was a good indicator to us that, hey, his problem here, why he looked so funky, was because he had some soreness in his feet. So sometimes it's that simple. Sometimes it's a little more complicated when you have a horse like this who you just can't really tell what's wrong. But that's just for fun, a little example of something bilateral and coming from the feet in the back. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. Hope you guys learned a little bit more about hind limb lameness. If you have questions, please leave them for me in the comments. I'll be sure to get back to you. And don't forget to like and subscribe.